Hey, good afternoon, everybody. It's Michael Simpson here, the founder of the National Commercial Real Estate Association, with you here today. I thought I'd do a short video on the cap rate. I put up this video the other day on the gross rent multiplier, and somebody said, "Hey, Michael, what's an easier way to determine value, the GRM or the cap?" And I said, "Gosh, it's a great question." And it's one that I talk about a lot in class, but I wanted to cover that. The answer to that is that the cap rate's a truer reflection of value because the cap rate takes into consideration vacancy and expenses. The GRM just says, hey, what's the sales price and what's the scheduled gross income? Take the GRM, take the sales price, divide it by the SGI, I'll give you a number. Okay, that's all it does. The cap rate's a little different. So let's take a look at how you get to the cap rate. So just to recap, if you have an asset that's monthly rents are $8,333 per month, you take that times 12, that gives you $100,000. So you have an asset that's generating $100,000 of income, scheduled gross income, SGI of $100,000. So what we do is we take 5% of $100,000, that gives us our vacancy factor. Then we subtract it, and it gives us what we call gross scheduled income, GSI, and that's, in this case, is $95,000. Then what we're going to do is take a 35% expense factor. So we're going to take 35% times 95,000. That's where we're getting 33,250 for our expense factor. Then we subtract that from the 95,000, and what's left over is $61,750. That's where we're getting our NOI. So our NOI in this case is $61,750. Now let me back up. The reason that we're using 5% and 35% are several reasons. One, the lender's going to require us to use these types of numbers. Okay, so let's say, and some lenders might require a higher expense factor, vacancy factor, like 10%. Where I'm standing right now is Southern California, multifamily. Let's say, for example, densely populated area, 5%, maybe even 10% for the vacancy factor for most lenders. Let's say you're out in the middle of nowhere, though. Maybe it's a rural area in the middle of Ohio. There's no cows, barns, dirt roads, not a lot around. That vacancy factor is going to be much, much higher. Who would you call to find out what you should use? A lender. Call a lender in that area, or one of our lenders that we use may even know some contacts out there, or may even know what it should be. And they'll tell you, but the vacancy factor would most likely be much, much higher. Same thing with the expense factor. Again, lenders would require us to use at least 35% as a minimum. It could be higher. Maybe it's deferred maintenance, means a lot of work. Maybe it's master metered and there's only one meter for all utilities. Tenants, owners paying all the utilities. Maybe it's in another area. Maybe it's in a cold area back east where it snows. So maybe it's more expensive to operate. So that could be higher depending on those factors. Okay, Southern California, multifamily, again, it's going to be about 35% as a minimum. It could be the third thing that would determine these factors would be the asset type. So again, the area, the lender, the product type. Let's say it's a triple net leased investment. Triple net means that the tenants are paying all the expenses. Well, the owner's not going to have a 35% expense factor. In that case, it would be much, much lower. Again, what I would do there is I would call my lender and say, hey, what should I plug in there? And they're great resources for that. Use the lenders, they're great resources for that. I always like to use a third party too, and in that case, whenever a seller or buyer asks me why I'm using these numbers, I can say, well, here's what the third parties in the area, the lenders, are telling us that they're going to use when they analyze the property. So let's use what they use because that's what we should go by. So it's good to defer to the third party. Okay, so that's why we use different, that's why we're using these factors, and again, those three things would determine when those factors would change. So you take the NOI, now that we have the NOI, divide it by the sales price. The definition, the formula for cap rate is NOI divided by price. So NOI, you take 61,750, divide it by the price of $1 million. In this case, it's a 6.1 cap. So the reason that cap rate is a truer reflection of value and a better number to use is because it says, hey, let's give me a number after you subtract the vacancy and expenses, and that number is NOI, and then give me the sales price, and then I'll give you a number. Where the GRM just says, I don't care about vacancy, I don't care about expenses, just give me the sales price and give me the income, and I'll give you a number. So the cap rate's a truer reflection of value, definitely a better way to go when you're determining value. It's a little more complicated to get to the cap rate, meaning that is the same person that's getting the NOI to determine the cap rate, are they using the same expense and vacancy factors that we just went through, or are they using something different? If they're using something different, it's going to give us a different NOI and a different cap rate. So it's a little more complicated to use a cap rate, a little more difficult to understand, but it is a truer reflection of value. Now, let's say that somebody puts down, just to wrap this up, a $300,000 down payment, and they get a loan at 70% LTV, 4% interest. That's going to give them a $40,100 cash debt service, a $40,100 debt service. When you subtract that from your net operating income, your NOI, what's left over is your cash flow, $21,650. Formula for ROI, return on investment. This is just before taxes, cash on cash. It's called CC, cash on cash, before taxes. When you take the cash flow, 21,650, the formula, let me finish that definition. The formula and definition of ROI is cash flow divided by down payment. So when you take the cash flow divided by the down payment, it gives you a return on investment of 7.2, and that's what you're looking at here. All right, so I hope that was helpful for you today. Thanks for watching. Again, I cover all this more in way more detail and much slower in my training events. I just wanted to push this video out real quick. I hope you find it informative. You can always come see us at www.thencrea.com. That's www.thencrea.com, and we'll see you in one of our training events. Make it a great day.